Who is the most important partner that you have in your business to help you to build an empire? Who's your most important partner?
Spouse.
Or significant other, yes or yes? For that reason, there needs to be extreme clarity, yes, around a few things. The thing to think about is if hard work led to success, the donkey would own the farm. It takes something more than that. It takes strategy, it takes intention, it takes purpose, right? Building an empire requires teamwork. What are the three things you have to get clarity on with that partner? The first is alignment on goal and objective. Now, at the beginning, we sat down and had a conversation. Even though there may be like some differences, there was alignment in terms of the ultimate goal and objective, yes?
Yes.
And what did you tell me was your ultimate thing that was the few variables that were so important to you?
I wanted my kids to go to a good school. I wanted them to be able to do whatever extracurricular activities they wanted to do. And I wanted to travel.
I thought, okay, cool. So there was some alignment. Next thing you got to get clear on are roles. Because are there different roles in a partnership? I'm sorry, louder?
Yes.
Hey, do you notice this conversation is like, interesting, yeah? There's roles and you got to get clear on what those roles are. And then the third thing is vehicles. Like, what are we going to actually do with this, with the cash that we're raising? Okay, because what do people normally do the instant that their income goes up? They immediately raise their lifestyle. So they have nicer stuff, but they're broke. They're no different than when they didn't have any money. You have two choices to make. One is to optimize for status and comfort, and the other is to optimize for time freedom and location freedom. Now, when I say optimize for status and comfort, what do I mean? Yeah, houses, cars, watches. Anybody besides me ever do that? And comfort and convenience, yes? Or time freedom and location freedom. What do you think I mean by that? You can go where you want, when you want, for how long as you want.
And you're still making money.
And you're still making money. So when we got together, was this what we optimized for? Was it ever what we optimized for?
No, we lived way below our means for probably too long, but...
Well, how long would you say?
15 years.
Yeah. I was making $1 million a year living in a 1,500 square foot townhome. Well, my need for significance is much higher. So me, I was like, yeah, let me get a CLS 500 Mercedes. Let me get the watch. There was a little bit of that, but it was really, it was like, if you looked at it ratios wise, it was like 90-10. 90 time freedom, location freedom, a little bit of that other stuff.
And I told you what I wanted. It was very simple. You don't really need that much to achieve that, you know, to have your kids do whatever extracurricular they want, to travel a couple times a year.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah, and you were never like, bro, we need a bigger house.
No.
And you were never like, hey, we're making all this money, like we should upgrade.
Because there was always a vision.
Yes.
Like if we do this for a certain amount of time, this is where we're gonna get.
That's
and
right.
as long as you're clear on that, it's like, well, I'll live here for as long as it takes if at some point we get there.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
the time frame has to be clear. It can't be like, someday. It has to be like 5 years from now, this is where it's gonna be.
Yeah, and she's really good at keeping me to timeframes.
Yes.
Because what do highly productive people want to do? Prolonged timeframes.
Right.
Oh, let me make $1 million more. Let me make this. Yeah, you just keep pushing
Let's
it
try
out. 200
deals. Why
Yeah.
don't we do 250 deals?
Yeah.
We did 100, we did 200. Like, how much is enough?
Yes.
Like, when is it gonna ever be enough?
Yeah, and the interesting part is when you think about this, most people who have money, they either live in it, drive it, or wear it, which is dumb. It's a status game. What do you get for status games? Tell me. Nothing.
Stress.
You don't get anything. It's like you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. Like, it's not a reward. There's beliefs though. So people come to me and they're like, hey, I want this result. I want this outcome. They want to talk about behavior. So what do I need to change behavioral wise? The issue is anybody besides me ever like tried to change a behavior and it didn't stick?
Yes.
Do you know why? You didn't address what's behind the behavior, which are beliefs. So what are the beliefs behind optimizing for status and comfort? Give me some ideas. What do you think? What are the beliefs? Let's say you choose, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, because by the way, what does our society tell us to optimize for? Status, comfort, and convenience. I'll get more listings if I get that nice car. You try to justify something stupid. What else? I work so hard and it's crushing my soul that I deserve it. I want to, hey, significance. Don't you know who I am? So I'm attached to what other people think? I could just make more. Who gives a shit? One belief is status matters. Now, there used to be a time in human history where it did. So if I was like the chief, right? And I had this like cool headdress that made it very clear that I was the chief. I got the best food, the best lady, like all that, right? But we don't live in a time where that matters anymore, but we're still playing that game. You mentioned it, Abel. You will always earn much more. Hey, this spigot that's pumping out whatever it is, $1 million, $2 million, it's always gonna be there. That is not an accurate assessment. I can earn my way out. Yeah, I pissed away all this money, I'll just earn my way out. No big deal. Or even worse, there's some people who think it's a form of motivation. I'm gonna go into debt, stress myself out to motivate myself? If you're taking notes, write this down. Some people think consuming big is thinking big. It's not. Thinking big is when I'm 40, I don't have to work anymore. That's thinking big. Thinking big is nobody has ownership over my body and my time. Yeah, what people think matters. Now, what are the beliefs that would cause you to optimize for time freedom and location freedom?
You can't get time back.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what is my most valuable asset? Ah, having time freedom and location freedom allows me to pour into relationships, which are actually the most valuable. You know what's interesting? You know, going back to like Bible study, when somebody asked them, what's the greatest commandment? Love the Lord with all your heart and love your neighbor as thyself. He knew relationships were the most valuable. That's what he's trying to tell us. I guarantee you, nobody's going to be at my funeral and be like, he was a fantastic real estate agent. Carla, for probably 5 years that we were doing it, didn't want to do it anymore. You know what I ask everybody who works together as a couple? And they say, yeah, you know, my wife, whatever their roles are, which we're going to talk about roles, I ask them, hey, does she do this or he do this because he wants to or because he loves you? It always catches the guys. They're like, oh yeah, she doesn't want to do this. I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. I want to be able to, if me and Carla are somewhere and the service sucks, I get up and leave and they're like, we're still going to charge you. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to be controlled in any way, right? The real value of money is that it buys options, freedom, choices, medicine, and education. My mom had a brain bleed when she was 47 years old. That rendered her handicapped on one side of her body. Because of these beliefs and because we were executing, we were relatively young. I was, 25.
It's right after we got married.
I bought her a condo and paid cash because she needed a place to live. I was able to help her in her time of need. If I was optimizing for status and comfort, would I have been able to do that? That's what it really buys. The idea of self-ownership is when a person owns themselves completely and no one has ownership or claims over their body and time. Listen to me, if you have revolving debt, somebody has a claim over your time and your body. And I want to be free. The last freedom here is financial freedom and independence. Because, you know, the United States, we're free. You're free to abide by the rules. And we shared these, yes? When we say the word wealth, like what comes up for you immediately? Money. Well, the word wealth actually comes from an old English word, which actually means well-being. So now when I say the word well-being, what comes up for you? Is it only money? What else is it? Health, peace of mind, what else? Legacy, okay. How about relationships? Anybody besides me ever felt a strain on relationships because you work 70 hours a week? Yeah? So come on in, you're good. So this actually comes from a Harvard study. So Harvard has the longest longitudinal study of a group of people. They followed them for 85 years. Now Harvard used to be only a men's only school, so it's just men. But they followed them for 85 years. They got their medical records. They talked to their family members. They had interviews with the individuals. And what they were looking for is what actually contributes to well-being and is there a variable that is directly linked to longevity? What would you think is directly correlated to longevity? Health, right? Vitamins, cold plunges. What else do you think is directly correlated? You think somebody who has more money, they would live longer?
Being married.
Being married, okay. That's close. The variable that's directly correlated with longevity is the quality of your core relationships and having a community that you're a part of. Do the people that you want to love you still love you and still want to be around you? Anybody know, besides me, know somebody who has a lot of money and status and none of their family wants to be around them? To me, that's an abject, like you don't want to be a public success and a private mess. So, and money has its limits. So if you look on this, loneliness harms your health, right? Quality of relationships matter. You know, having a purpose and a mission beyond just making money. And money, it's limited. It's only a portion. How many people besides me have treated it like it was the whole pie? Now, what gets in the way of actually us making deposits in these other areas like health, like relationships, like having purpose? And what gets in the way?
Working too much.
I'm sorry?
Working too much.
Not having enough?
Time.
And do you see how if I'm optimizing for status and comfort, I'm guaranteeing that I will never have enough time. This is the amount of time you will spend with your direct family, okay? So like brothers, sisters, loved ones, right? You'll notice once you hit 18, like right around 21, it drops dramatically, right? So the majority of the time that you're gonna spend with them is from the time you were born until the time you're around like 20. How many times has like maybe a sibling or like a loved one said, hey, let's hang out, and you're like, that would be cool, but I am
Busy.
This is the amount of time that you spend with your children and how much it drops dramatically. Here in peak, look, when you are in your like 30s, 40s, you know, like right up to like I'm 44, I'm at the tail end of the amount of time that I'm gonna spend with them. Now, if I was still hard charging, right? If I was optimizing for status and comfort and whatever and doing that and didn't have time to spend time with them, how much of this could I capture? None, very little. This is what happens to the time that you spend alone. I need you to understand, if you're not comfortable with yourself, that's gonna be a problem long term, because the amount of time that you spend with yourself goes up dramatically. I told Carla, like, the kids they were out of the house because they slept over because we were taking this trip. And I was like, wow, this is so like, God willing, like, this is what it's going to be. This should be me and her. I'm like, yeah, I like you. It's cool. But you know what I mean? Like, it's a different season. Now imagine as it's going up and you're alone and you still have to work all the time. We all know people that way, yes? And this here is it looks all complicated, but it comes from a book called Die with Zero. I would highly recommend you read that book. And what he's talking about, and I'll explain it to you, and it'll make sense as you look at it, maybe on your phone or whatever, is that health and wealth actually intersect. Because the thing about wealth is if you leave it alone, if you invest it, what happens over time? It just compounds independent of you. It just keeps getting bigger. But what happens to our wealth independent of how hard we try? What happens to our health as time progresses? It just declines. It's the way it is. So there is an intersection between where health and wealth are at their peak. And usually for really hard chargers and highly productive people, it's between the ages of 45 and 60. No, when the health and the wealth are peaked. So meaning like, yeah, wealth will keep going up, but when you're 60 with a high degree of probability, you're probably not going to be in the same physical condition that you are in 45, right? So the health starts to decline, which ends up inhibiting what you can do. So his premise is that when you find yourself at that place, which some of you are getting very close to that already, instead of maniacally and obsessively trying to increase wealth, what I should do is no longer try to do that and try to increase experiences and spend down the money that I've accumulated over time, to die with zero. Because check this out, if you die with $1 million in the bank, that's $1 million worth of experiences that you were not able to have. Like if I was to say, let's say I said to Jose, hey, I'm gonna rent out, we're gonna go to Costa Rica for 3 weeks. I'm gonna rent out a place. We'll have a private chef, we'll do the whole thing. Families can hang out, cost $35,000 and I pay for it, or $30,000. I still have $970,000 worth of experiences that I can have. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's a completely different way of thinking. This comes to a very important part, which is role. And me and Carla have had over 20 years, a lot of sometimes intense, and we'll go into why, but issues of roles. Anybody besides me, I'm curious, with a significant other, there's been friction around work and business? Yeah. Hey,
unheard of.
But there's two categories of roles. The first role is a supportive role, and the second role is a lead role. It exists both in business and in a family, so maybe around that.
Well, I'm obviously the supportive role in the business, the supportive role of the business and the lead role in the family.
Yes, 100%. And I'm curious, was there friction around being in the supportive role?
Yes, because I was told by society that it was a lesser role, that it wasn't important, that I felt like I was sacrificing my potential being in another role. So I had to unlearn that, and that took a while, but we're gonna get into that.
So, but what I'm aware of is not being clear on roles leads to a lack of clarity, and then there's constant friction. And what Carla just alluded to is absolutely correct. Society does a really powerful job trying to influence what you think around this topic. Mm-hmm. How many people, you guys were talking about, we were on the hike and they're talking about like some, I don't know, reality TV show they're watching, and the people there are like, I'm a high value woman, I'm a high value man.
Love Island.
Bro, that's society feeding them that bullshit. You understand that? Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's your value? You're hot? Okay, what else? Like, you know what I mean? It's society feeding them. So it creates lots of friction in relationships. So what are some ways that society tries to influence us on roles? Power couple, okay, cool, yep. Dual income, no kids. I'm independent, you can't tell me what to do. Hey,
I don't need a man.
I don't need a man. Anybody heard that?
Hyper-independency?
Hyper-independency. Taken to an extreme, people realize that it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's not true. Because let's say you do like the girl boss thing, you take it to an extreme, but then you recognize like, oh, there's like something that's not being fulfilled here, something that's missing. Or thinking like, yo, I don't need anybody, independent of genders, but like, I don't need a person or a partner. And then you're lonely and you're not enjoying your experience and you have no purpose and you have no mission. You see what I'm saying? Chant scripts. I used to sit in a room and do this. You ready? Hi, I was calling about the homeless for sale in the industry. Is this the owner? Great. My name's Aaron, local real estate agent. I'm sure I figured out by now your home came off the market as expired listing. I was calling 5 times as fast as I could, 10 times actually, as fast as I could out loud. That, FISBOs, pre-qual, and the listing presentation 1 time, as fast as I could.